We are talking all about air quality today, specifically the air quality inside your home, and you're about to get quite the education. My guest is Mike Feldstein. He's the founder of Jaspr and an air quality expert with a background in wildfire restoration, air quality consulting, and home remediation during some of the biggest natural disasters. Mike started Jaspr to innovate in air science and technology. His goal is to protect air quality and improve human health using the latest air quality science. I have one of his units. They so graciously sent me, and I am beyond wowed by it. It's beautiful. It's, huge. So it's taking in a lot of air. And that's one of the things that he talks about is like, it's not necessarily square footage. It's more about air volume. And he's just educating on so many things apart from even, the air purification inside your home itself. He's talking about, how cooking impacts it, how carpets, humidity, just so many things. He's been the guy doing the mold remediation of homes, and that's really what brings him here. And he just has so many interesting outlooks on why we would even need to be thinking about using air purifiers in our home in the first place. So really great episode. If you guys end up wanting to get a Jaspr, you can go to Jaspr, which is, it doesn't have an E, right? So it's jaspr.co, not com. So jaspr.co without an E, right? And then you can use code COACHTARA. If you are listening to this right when it came out, then by the end through September 30th, 2025, you can use that COACHTARA code and get $300 off. And anytime after that, you can still use it to get $200 off. All right, let's go ahead and get into air quality with Mike Feldstein. This episode is brought to you by Peluva. So Peluva, P-E-L-U-V-A, those are Mark Sisson's new zero drop minimalist shoe with that distinctive 5-toe design. I have been loving them. I've been a longtime fan of barefoot shoes, and I was very resistant to the little 5-toe articulation personally at first, because just being real, I thought they looked really nerdy, and I was like, oh man, yeah, I love Mark so much, and I get what he's doing, but I'm not wearing those nerdy shoes. And then Brad Kearns, who's also involved with that project, was like, no, Tara, you got to try them. Tara, you got to try them. Tara, just come on, try them. And I tried them, and I kid you not, I enjoy them so much that I actually like how they look now. Weirdly, I can tell. So like the purpose of that 5-toe articulation is so that your toes can move more dynamically. So with other barefoot shoes, like I've been a long time fan of Vivos, and I'm still a big fan of Vivos, but they have just that big toe box, right? Which is awesome. So I didn't really feel like the 5-toe articulation was necessary, to be honest. But as I've worn them, I have experienced how awesome that is. It was actually been quite surprising for me. And I wore them this morning. I wear them all the time, and I'm really, really enjoying that freedom of movement on my toes. So, yeah, Brad and I have been going back and forth. I'm like, dude, I actually love them. And he offered to sponsor the podcast with Peluva and also offer you guys a 15% off code, which I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, I will gladly introduce my people to Peluva shoes. So you can use code COACHTARA at peluva.com, or you can just go to peluva, peluva.com/COACHTARA, and you can get that 15% off discount. Make sure you snag some of the socks while you're there, because you're going to need the toe socks. Okay. All right, let's get into the episode. All right. So for those of you only tuning in on audio, I just want to let you know that Mike is in front of a beautiful Austin. I don't know. What is that? A river? That's a river, right? Behind you?
In Texas, they call this a lake,
It's a lake.
and
Okay.
anywhere else, they would call this a river. But yeah, it's called Lake Austin, but it's part of the Colorado River.
Got it. Okay. Well, most of my people, if they've been following me long enough, they know Austin's one of my favorite places on earth. So thank you for tuning in from the OG Austin, straight nature. So, all right, Mike, I'm so excited to talk about all sorts of things air quality with you. It's really cool because I mean, you are a specialist in this field, and you also have a solution for people if they want to increase the air quality in their home. And we're going to talk about Jaspr. But first, I was listening to you on Sean Stevenson's Model Health Show,
Nice.
and I heard you educating about the confusion in for purchasers of air purifiers, and that I know that is a huge thing for probably anybody listening. It's like I don't even really know like what I'm looking for, right? And so can you educate us real quick on what a regular everyday consumer who they when they want something good, they obviously don't want to completely break the bank, but they're willing to invest in something quality if it makes sense. Can you educate the listener on what to look for when going to purchase an air purifier for their home?
I can, and I'll start by saying how I only got into this because I was doing floods, fires, hurricanes, and toxic mold cleanup, and we were using these big industrial machines called air scrubbers. So it was like the commercial industrial version of an air purifier. It'd be like 20 or 30 times more effective than an air purifier. That's what we were using in big catastrophes to remediate homes. And they were so effective, but they were really loud and they were really ugly. So the vision for Jasper was to create an air scrubber. So something that's very industrial in its nature, but quiet and beautiful. And that was sort of how we were approaching it. And it's really hard. But yeah, that's how I got into the space in the first point, was by doing kind of catastrophic toxic mold cleanup type of stuff. And it's a hard thing for people because it's one of those purchases. It's kind of like supplements in a lot of the sense
Yeah,
where you're like, which is a good one? How much do I know? Need? Is it working? And once in
right.
a while, it's undeniable. Like once in a while, you find the right supplement, or like if you haven't been drinking enough water and then you start drinking enough water, or you start
Hmm.
using electrolytes and you're like, whoa, I actually feel the difference on this one. I personally like, or you start working out. It's undeniable when you work out how you feel. Whereas so
Hmm.
many health things that are being sold to us, you're told that, trust me, it's working. You don't see it or feel it working. And that sucks because you're losing the ability to trust your own senses when you're hoping stuff works. I much prefer to take stuff that I feel the effectiveness like immediately. It just allows me to trust it a lot more.
Hmm.
And same thing with water. If you grew up, when did filtered water even get super popular? Like kind of in the last 10 years, it feels like. But growing up as a kid, you just drink tap water and you drink from the hose, and then you think back on it and you're like, it did sort of taste kind of plasticky. And once you discover filtered water, all of a sudden tap water tastes gross. You taste the chemicals.
Right,
It's not nice at all. And
right.
your senses calibrate. Or like if somebody's wearing speed stick and then you start wearing like a natural deodorant, all of a sudden you can smell. You become much more attuned to all these
Hmm.
chemicals and fragrances when you start becoming aware of them and start avoiding
Right.
them. And the truth is, if your air scrubber or air filter that you buy isn't undeniable, it's probably not working. Most people think air purifier is one of those things you just buy it and you kind of hope it's working. If that's the case, it's not working.
Mm.
And most air purifiers are trying to sell people in a very sneaky way. So they're using stats like it covers 1,000 square feet, or it filters down to this micron size and this particle size. You only do studies like that when you don't have real life, practical, tangible data. So all of the research that we do is either on the human who's in the room or in the space itself. So most companies, if they're going to do a test for mold effectiveness, they put the filter, they take it out of the machine, and they do an isolated sample, um, in a very controlled laboratory kind of way. The way we do our mold studies is we literally fill a room with mold, turn on the Jasper, and watch the mold go down really quickly. The way that we
Hmm.
test for our effectiveness on sleep is we gave 150 people Jaspers who weren't filtering their air, who were using Aura rings and Whoops, and we tracked their sleep data with and without Jaspers. So I like undeniable data, and most of it is very like, who cares when you're buying a car how many horsepower your car is anymore? That's how they used to sell you a car. Now you're like, does it look good? Are the seats comfortable? Is it safe? And does it have like the couple features I want? No one cares about horsepower, and people are still buying air purifiers on statistics that really don't make sense and they're not practical in the real world. So, at the core, what really matters for air filtration is how much air does it move. So most air purifiers are way too small that they just don't move enough air. So even if it's a HEPA filter, if it's too small and it doesn't move enough air through the filter, it's not very effective. It's like a space heater. If you get a tiny little space heater, that's good for a closet or a small bedroom, but it can't heat your whole home. it's too small to get the job done. Or another analogy I really like is most air purifiers are kind of like a kettle. Kettle's great if you're trying to make a cup of tea, but if you're trying to fill your bathtub, the kettle won't get the job done because the water is going to be cooling down faster than you can possibly heat it up. So most air purifiers are like a kettle, and we made Jaspr more like a water heater.
Mm.
So it's the
So,
size.
okay. So, like, I mean, obviously, we're going to talk more about the Jasper, but like, if people were looking at other air purifiers, do they even say, how do they know how much air they moved? Is that something you're just looking at the size? How big
Well,
is
the good
it?
news is most products have money back guarantees. And I
Uh-huh.
think don't be shy to return things. Unfortunately, a lot of companies do make it annoying to return things, which sort of sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon makes it easy. We make it easy. So it should be undeniable. Like when if
Yeah.
you're sleeping, like I travel with my Jasper now because it's very hard for me to sleep in an environment that doesn't have clean air. Once you start, I always say there's one bad thing of buying a Jasper is you become an air snob. All of a sudden, when you go to people's homes, you smell and feel what dirty air feels like. It feels more
Mhm.
difficult to breathe. So
Mhm.
there is a statistic called CFM on an air purifier.
Mhm.
Um, but it's hard to find out the truth because they all publish
Mhm.
the stats on full speed. What really matters is how much air does it move on the quietest setting. Because
Mhm.
so unfortunately, the data that you need is really not out there for most machines.
Right.
But I will tell you that if you buy one and it's not undeniable, if you don't turn it off and you're not like freaking out, if it's not undeniable, if you're not see, and also you should see it work. So I would never buy an air
Mhm.
purifier that doesn't have a sensor that shows me the
Right.
air quality on the screen in real time. Because
Mhm.
if someone lights incense, or if we cook anything, or if there's a
Mhm.
candle burning, or if my neighbor is using their barbecue, I watch it go from a 5 to a 50. I watch it ramp up. I watch it come back down. So why would an air purifier not show you the air quality in real time if the product worked? If
Mhm.
if it doesn't work, then they're inclined not to show you the data because you would see that it's not
Right.
working. So I would not buy a product, a Jasper or any air filter that wasn't transparent and showing me what's in the air in real time. To me, that's just
Mhm.
a hard line because how else would I know if it's working?
Mhm. Yeah, I was telling you before the show, I was really grateful because when I was moving from Hawaii to Utah, my stuff, I had had a bunch of stuff in a storage unit for 2 years and it was just all covered in dust. And it's a very dry, arid environment. We also have a lot of pollution, especially in the winters, and that stuff had just been sitting there. We're moving it all in, and I'm just like, I mean, I probably should have had some sort of mask on or something. It was so much. And the Jasper that you guys sent me came in the middle of that, like this like beautiful gift. I opened my porch and my door. I'm like, oh my gosh. And put it on. Sure enough, I mean, it's just like, going. Like I knew the air quality in here would be bad. There's so much dust and who knows what all in it. And I'm so grateful because it just really, really brought in this very like serene, peaceful space that was really needed. So just want to thank you for that. And then I also want to ask you, like, well, I want to get into mold because I have to pick your brain about that because people will kill me if I don't. But like, can you just tell us about like how the Jasper works? Like, what
Let's just think
tell us a
about
little.
air in general. Let's just look at
Yeah.
air. For Jasper, why is this even a problem in the first place? And the
Yeah.
issue since the 70s, especially since the energy crisis, building designs have changed to make homes very, very tight. And the best air purifier in the world is nature. That's why I'm
Mm-hmm.
sitting outside right now. The sun, the wind, the rain, and the trees. That is
Mm-hmm.
nature's air purifier. That's why outdoor air is typically way cleaner, typically 5 to 10 times cleaner than outdoor air. The problem with our homes is we built them so tight to be energy efficient. The downside is we've trapped everything inside. So if you think about a flowing river or a stream, that's typically very clean. But when you have a stagnant pond, that's when you get the algae, that's when you get the mosquitoes, that's when you get bacteria. And the water, when it's not moving, becomes very contaminated water. That's why whether it's a swimming pool or a fish tank or anything, you need constant circulation or a cold plunge. You need constant circulation of the water. Our homes, if outside when you feel the wind, that is like nature's river in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Our homes are like ponds. They don't
Mm-hmm.
breathe. So that's why we have a big problem. That's why you don't need a mask or an air filtration system outside all the time, because when air is moving, air is generally clean. Air is like energy. When air or water or your body, things want to be moving and not be stagnant.
Right.
And if you look at nature, there's no right angles in nature. Nothing is squared in nature. Everything is
Mhm.
round and irregular. And we
Mhm.
built our homes as boxes with right angles.
Right.
So if you're ever looking at a lake or a river, where does the algae bloom? When the water, where the water can't move is where the water gets gross.
Right.
So in our homes, the way homes are designed is they don't breathe, they have poor ventilation, and then they have right angles everywhere. So the bad air is getting trapped in all the different corners. And your home is like a stagnant pond. And then we're spending 95% of our time in there. And I just think generally, people are not very good at putting their money where their priorities should be. So like the average house in America is, let's say, $1 million these days. I'm just being
Mhm.
general, but that's probably it could be correct. So if a home is $1 million, but the average person's bed is $2,000, it doesn't make sense because what's really the purpose of your home? The first principles of your home, it's supposed to be shelter for you and your family, to be safe and comfortable. And I want my home to be like a sanctuary, a place
Mhm.
where I can rest and recharge or focus, do the things that I want to do to feel great in my home. And I think way too often now we just, you know, we get a living room that has a big TV on the wall with a couch or two facing into the wall, and then we get a foam bed and we throw it in our room. So we have $1 million in the walls and the roof and the floors, but the air sucks, the water sucks, the lighting sucks, the bed sucks. So what I'm really passionate about driving home is we are so much a product of our environment. So if you imagine being in a space with black walls and pink walls and bright lights, there's no way you could be calm in that environment. It would be impossible. So there are so many factors that impact our environment: sound, vibration, noise, light, smells, scents, all of that. So all of those contribute to a healthy, productive environment. And all of it matters. Air is one of those things. An average family of four can easily be spending 3 grand a month on food between groceries and meals out. If you're getting a high quality, like, spring water delivery, buying water, paying your water bill, you probably are spending $3,000 to $5,000 a year on your water. And then air, you breathe over 15,000 times a day, so you're taking in way more air than you are water and food. And you're indoors breathing in mold and VOCs and chemical in your little trapped air box. So what I'm really a steward of the message of is, there's almost nothing better that we could do as a step for our health and our happiness and our peace than optimizing our environments and optimizing our surroundings, whether that's the city or the country you live in, the office, your chair, your desk, all of it. I think people are really not allocating resources and attention. So they're spending $300 a month on supplements, but you got a shitty bed and no air filter. And I'm just a big advocate of, like, health and life doesn't have to be that complicated. We're just systemically putting our money and our resources and our focus. We're majoring in the minors, and like just dialing in your environment is just such a easy way to optimize your life. And that's really what I'm a steward of. And Jasper makes the air piece of it easy.
Yeah. Yeah, I really appreciate that analogy with the stagnant water. And yeah, I mean, that's, I'm in the biohacking, health optimization world. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, no, you don't have to cold plunge, for example. Of course not. But like, if we didn't have these amazingly comfortable modern boxes that we've built for ourselves, we would be subjected to uncomfortable temperatures constantly. So to me, it seems
Hell yeah.
wise to intentionally do that in my nice climate controlled, thermostat regulated environment
Or,
where I
yep.
almost never have to be subjected to that.
Yes,
Right. And so
exactly.
it's just like that. It's like, how do we make these really cool modern lifestyle homes that we've made for ourselves more similar to the way nature intended our bodies to be?
Exactly.
So I really appreciate
So
that.
if nature is like God's air purifier, it's
Yeah.
already here. And ideally we would just be outside more, but the way I think about Jasper is Jasper reaches the indoor area where you've trapped nature out.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where it reaches. That's what it's accessing. And if someone's thinking about it as buying an air purifier or buying a product or buying a water filter, that's not the case. I would have I would have preferred to live beside a spring and just drink spring water. But if I don't, I need to either bring it in or I need to filter it and then put a bunch of minerals back in it. But to me, I'm trying to make my indoor environment as close to nature as
Right.
possible.
Right.
And people won't bat an eye at a $25,000 bathroom renovation or a 100K kitchen renovation, but $1 a day to have filtered air in their bedroom seems expensive. Or getting an $8,000 amazing bed that's going to last 20 years seems expensive. And I think we have a weird relationship of where it makes sense to invest our money and our energy. So I would
Mhm.
much prefer to have a home that's 30 or 40% smaller, that has great air, great water, great lighting, in a beautiful place, than have a big boxy home. And
Yeah.
the big boxy home is like millions of dollars. And these other things are like single digit thousands of dollars that will
Mhm.
easily make your environment so much better. And, I used to live in British Columbia, and my commute to my office was a 90-minute hike each way.
That's
127
awesome.
flights of stairs, 27,000 steps per day. So I didn't have to meditate. I didn't have to journal. I didn't have to go to the gym. And when I got to my office, only had to work for an hour a day, because by the time I got there, it was so clear on what had to be done and not done.
Mm.
Instead of like, driving there and sitting in traffic or whatever, it would have been a 10-minute drive. And then sitting there and opening my computer and being like, what should I work on today? By And also it was in Canada, so it was about 40 degrees in the winters for this hike in the morning. But in doing that, my home was for sleeping and for having dinner with my kids if we couldn't eat outside. But honestly, I just got back from Austria 2 days ago, um, and we were spending about 60% of our life outside. The only
Mm.
thing we were doing indoors was sleeping. And our
Mm.
life was default outside instead of default inside. And
Mhm.
imagine going back in time like 1,000 years and trying to explain the concept of indoors to someone. Like, wait, you mean you built an airtight box to trap out air? That doesn't make any sense. But no, humans love comfort basically
Mhm.
over everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I can definitely relate just having lived in Hawaii for 2 years because everything's very indoor, outdoor there. I mean, you can choose to be inside, but most people have lanais. Like, it's a very indoor, outdoor way
Yes.
of living, and it's just so much better for humans, right? But okay, I'm in Salt Lake City, we're in the Rocky Mountains, you're in
Beautiful
British
too.
Columbia. It's, you can be outside in the winters, you can snowshoe, you can hike, you
Ski.
can go for walks, you can ski, you can do all those things, but most people choose not to. So, optimizing, having plants in your house, having some sort of running water feature in your house, like bringing in the sounds of nature, bringing in air purifiers, thinking about the materials that your
Natural
things are
light.
made of, right? Natural light, like all of that is going to be so much more conducive to feeling better every day than being in
Yes.
some, like, I always like the most drastic horrible environment that I always think of. I'm like, the worst environment is when you're on like a road trip and you stop at that one gas station at like 12 a.m. and they're like, there's this person that you're just, my heart breaks for them because there's all this artificial UV
Bright
light, like
lights.
bright plastic packaging everywhere. It smells like,
Uh,
I don't even know what happened in here, like mixture of chemical cleaners and something burned, there's music going, and you're just like, oh my gosh, bless your heart. Like, this is the worst environment ever. So it's like we want the furthest from that as possible in our homes. And, I
exactly.
think there's probably a lot of people listening that already have, they already purify their water. They probably have hydrogen water machines, and they probably have, all the air purified. But I appreciate you, um, not only coming into the field and bringing in like a really high quality solution for people, but also educating. And I wanted to talk to you about mold, and not just
Yeah.
mold, but other things. in the home environment, from carpets to cooking
Yes.
to, humidity. What kind of things can you help educate the listener on about what they might want to be aware of in terms of how their regular everyday lifestyle, um, the environments in their home might be negatively impacting their air quality?
Yeah, so over 90% of people, their home environment in America is either a subdivision built house or a condo or an apartment.
Mhm.
Most people aren't living in custom high performance homes.
Right.
So you're living in a home that was probably in a subdivision, a cookie cutter home, or maybe an older home. But generally, when a home is built, if you think about how a home was a subdivision's built, master plan community, thousands of homes or a condo or a tower, there's somebody who had a vision. And they literally said, there's a beautiful forest or a farm field. I bet we could build 800 homes there. And then the math that they're doing is they're saying, how many homes can we build? How cheap, how fast?
Right.
That's the quantum. That's the business decision that is being
Right.
made. So
Right.
they'll meet with developers and architects and builders, and then they'll say, how can we build them that are cheap and fast? And the reason that I'm super passionate about speaking to like health conscious people is because this is a top down and bottom up problem. So I'm both educating architects, builders, developers. I just joined the Building Biology Institute so I could start getting in front of more builders because we
Cool.
need two things to happen. We need builders to build better homes and we need people to demand better homes. So when the incentives are how do we build a home cheap and fast? Well, what happens is the best thing that they can do is remove variables. So when they're building a community, they cut down every single tree and they level the land. Well, that sucks. And then when they typically come up with 3 or 4 floor plans and they cookie cutter them. So they're looking to get materials that are cheap and fast. So everything from the floors, the walls, the ceilings, the roofing, the adhesives, there's no incentive structure that says how healthy is this home for the
Right.
family that's going to live in it? Is this home going to last 150 years or is it going to start leaking in 20 years? Uh,
Mhm.
are we going to triple the likelihood of them getting cancer? That's not really part of the math. And
Right.
then they go to a bank and they borrow money. Well, the longer that they borrow the money, the more interest they pay. So the incentives are cheap and fast and then pretty.
Right.
And what looks, you know, pretty in the little magazine or the picture doesn't necessarily mean it's a good place for you to live in. And so just I like to start from the incentives because if you don't understand the why, it's a little bit abstract. So when your floor is being manufactured in China, it's being, cheap glues, cheap adhesives, press board, MDF, whatever. As soon as it comes off the line, it gets wrapped and packed and it's on a boat. And then it gets to a distributor in America. And within a week, it's going to a builder and then it's in your home. There's no process where they say, let's put it in an off gassing room for 60 days to let
Right.
the chemicals off gas before we install it in people's homes. So they wrap it to protect it and to keep it all locked in. So the off gassing happens in your home. Same for the insulation, same for your couch, same for your bed. So everything that's in your home was built in a factory. And as soon as it came off the line with all those chemicals, it was wrapped up airtight and then it got unboxed in your home.
Mhm.
So the number one culprit is the fact that your home is made out of toxic materials that haven't off gassed, and then your home itself doesn't breathe. Problem one. Then, because it doesn't breathe, when we cook, when we clean, when we use hair products, when we use soaps, all of that gets trapped into our environment. If we have pets, if we light incense, if we have candles, so you have the home itself is toxic. Most of the things we do inside it are toxic. Then we spend 95% of our life in there, and then the home doesn't breathe. So this is
Mhm.
why we have a serious problem. And
Mhm.
it's not that hard of a problem. If the home was built thoughtfully, it would have something called an ERV. Basically, a ventilation system that's constantly bringing in fresh air in an environmentally friendly way. We would let materials off gas before we put them in people's homes. We would have a lot more natural light. I'd rather have my energy bill go up by $20 a month to have a not perfectly efficient home that is like a great environment to be in. Um, so it's the house itself, really, and then so that is contributing to the air because we're breathing in all those toxins. It's like new car smell is not a good smell. They
Mm.
add sense to it to hijack your brain. So you think it's a good smell. New car smell is not a good smell. New home smell is not a good smell. When I was doing air quality consulting for people who are getting sick in their homes, it was either mold or it was people who just moved into brand new homes that were getting basically poisoned by VOCs.
Wow.
And because those homes were so tight, often it's the newest homes that have the worst mold issues.
Really? Wow. Okay. Okay, so let's stay on mold for a second. How can people be aware of, areas that might have a lot of mold, signs of mold, what to do, who do you call, what testing, etc. What do we need to know about mold?
So I did mold testing for several years and I did mold removal. And I got out of the testing business because it felt like I wasn't making a difference in the world at all. I'd
Mm.
go into someone's home, $1,500, test their home for their air and their mold. And guess what? Everybody had bad air. And I'm like, this is kind of a waste. So someone just spent all this money on a report, but it was never good. Same thing with tap water.
Mm.
I actually don't recommend anybody test their water. Just put the money into the water filter.
Right.
Because if you have city water or well water or lake water, it's either going to have too much bacteria or too much chemicals. One of
Mhm.
those two. And I'm not super mad at the city. A lot of people like to get mad at the system. The city literally has to treat like sewer rainwater and turn it into water that won't kill you immediately.
Right.
So
Right.
the best way that they're able to treat water in mass is with chemicals.
Right.
So then we kind of have to filter those chemicals out and take some autonomy for our family's health and get good water filtration.
Mhm.
So there's no point in really testing for water. Just get a good water filter.
Mhm.
Um, I on the water side, I like reverse osmosis for my cooking water and my cleaning water. I like spring water for my drinking water and a more affordable option. Like if you have like a Berkey or something like that or RO, and then you put back electrolytes, that's pretty good too. But it's the same concept as like everybody's water is going to have bacteria or chemicals, and everybody's air. So when we tested, thousands of people's homes for air, everybody's mold spore count is pretty high. Their dust mites are
Mhm.
high. The VOCs are high. The ventilation is bad. Of course. How could you possibly have a modern home that doesn't breathe with good air? That's why the
Mhm.
average home is 5 to 10 times dirtier than outside. So
Wow.
it's not a matter of if you should be filtering your air, or you should definitely be getting more ventilation. How do you do that? The best way is opening your windows more. So when the temperature, if it's summertime, do it in the morning or do it in the evening. If it's the winter time, it's not great, but at least cracking your windows for an hour or two a day. And in the morning and in the evening, the energy is typically cheaper. So that can be a good time to do it. But it's like your home needs to breathe. It just has to breathe.
Mhm.
If your home's not breathing, how are the people inside of it supposed to breathe? So yeah,
Mhm.
of course you're getting sick and feeling brain foggy and chronically unwell because you cut off nature from yourselves. So it's not a
Mhm.
matter of if people need air filters. Um, like when we gave 150 people Jaspers, the average person slept 25 minutes more per night with 18% more deep sleep. So the reason that people would choose a Jasper, let's say, over something else, is because it cleans more air, it looks really pretty, it's smarter, it has no EMFs, and honestly, I think the pretty factor really matters. Like
Yeah, it's really
why do
nice.
why do you care? I think is truly design is a health factor, because when you go into a beautifully designed space, you
Mhm.
feel
Mhm.
better.
Mhm.
When you have nice things, when you like the way you look, why does someone wear makeup? Why do they do your hair? Why do you wear
Mhm.
certain clothes? Why do you
Right.
get certain furniture? Because good design makes you feel good.
Yep.
So if you have an ugly, loud plastic box in the corner, even
Yeah.
if it's cleaning the air, if it looks loud and it's ugly, it's impacting you in a different way. It's like you could buy a kettle for $19 from Walmart that's going to heat your water just fine. But personally, I like the $90 kettle or the $70 kettle that has glass or black metal that looks like
Right.
decor and it stays on my
Right.
counter. That's just where I'm at and
Yeah.
what I value. So the truth is, like, I was a mold, fire, flood guy. I just made Jasper for my family. My wife really likes interior design. We
Mhm.
love kids and we love trees and we like nature. So I just made a purifier or an air scrubber that we would be proud to have in our homes, that when people come over, instead of being like, what's that? This is ugly, loud box that we hide in the corner. They come over and
Mhm.
they go, wow, A, your air
Mhm.
smells beautiful in here. B, what is that pretty machine in the corner? That's
Right.
my air scrubber. So that's who Jasper's for. If people just want something that's effective, honestly, one of the best air purifiers you can get is a DIY air purifier. If you Google DIY air purifier for about $150 in 2 hours in a trip to Home Depot, you can make a really good air filter that's going to be way better than anything you find at Best Buy, Walmart, Amazon, or Home Depot. Downside are you have to build it and it's ugly and it's loud.
Okay.
But what sucks is if someone is misled by sneaky marketing and they buy something and then they're not getting their sleep fixed,
Right.
their mold, whatever it is. To me, that's
Mhm.
sad. I just want to
Mhm.
give people the options, and people who want the pretty thing with the great service and the lifetime warranty, go to Jaspr. For everybody else, get an air scrubber or make a DIY machine. So I wanted to make sure I don't leave the mold thing behind. So the reason that people get really impacted by mold is because it's typically you're not getting sick from mold outside. And just the same way, you don't walk around outside and see dust accumulating on your lawn or on your car. Dust is an indoor problem. Dust is a symptom of bad indoor air because your home can't breathe.
Mhm.
So mold, if it's outside, mold is no problem. The reason that you don't see mold growing everywhere outside is because it's a flowing river. You have the sun, you have the wind, you have the trees, you have the rain. Nature's air purifier doesn't allow mold to become a problem indoors. When you've trapped yourself inside, you need to filter your air because the mold is pissed off that it's trapped indoors and it's trying to survive. So it's trying to duplicate and replicate, and then you become the host. So it's not a matter of if you have a mold problem, just because you don't see a bunch of black mold growing in the corner. Everybody has high levels of airborne mold, especially after it rains. Even in Arizona in the desert, I see more people getting mold toxicity even in deserts than almost anywhere else
Mhm.
because they still have leaks. They still have indoor water, and all of that desert sand used to be underwater. So there's ancient mold spores in there. So when people are having mold issues and you test their blood or you test their urine and you test their homes, it's almost the exact same species of mold. So it's not something that you really have to run from, but it's like you don't have to run from bacteria in your water either. But you do have to filter your water, you do have to cook your food, and you do have to filter your air.
Mhm.
It's not a matter of if you have to. If you want to move to Hawaii or Vancouver Island or Costa Rica and live indoor outdoor, you're good. You don't need to filter your air. But if you live in a typical American, Canadian apartment, condo, modern home, it's not really an option if you want to filter your air. You can choose to or not, but you're going to be paying the consequences if you don't.
Yeah, yeah, and even in Hawaii, I mean, depends on the person, I mean, we didn't have air conditioning, so we always had our windows open, but there's still environments there too where, I actually feel like people are
Yeah, for
paying more
sure.
attention to air quality in Hawaii because it's so humid. Yeah, I
Right.
mean,
Yeah, yeah, the
most people
humidity
have
thing.
dehumidifiers, air purifiers, I mean, it's so humid out there, it broke my MacBook. My MacBook got
Wow.
water damage just from how humid it was in
Humidity.
the air. So it's pretty mold predisposed in any indoor environment there just because it's so wet. It's so humid.
Do you have kids?
Yeah, 4.
4 kids?
Yeah.
How old are they?
My oldest is 19 and my youngest is 12.
Okay. And what was their school environment like?
Oh, no, seriously. I think like so Kyle, he just turned 15. His school was over 100 years old. The whole side of the building from the
Where
road.
was the school?
This is in south of Hilo on the Big Island, so rural area. This is kind of known as one of the more like rough, like poor public schools of all of Hawaii, right? And from the side of the road, there's mildew covering the whole side of the building. So it looks like, oh my gosh, they're using that building, and he's really sensitive. He already deals with eczema flare ups sometimes. And he was like, Mom, I know there's mold all in that school. Like,
Wow.
I am like itching, my eyes are watering, like I can't think
Damn.
straight. So it was like that was honestly one of my motivations. I was like, I can't keep having them in this environment. There were many reasons we moved back, but that was a major issue for him. Like he always called it like my mold school or whatever.
Oh,
He's
damn.
like, I know it's
You
not
could smell it,
good
you could feel
there.
it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And he was getting, eczema flare ups again, like constant skin itching, eyes watering, dry, he was just having all sorts of issues. And that whenever
And
he
you
was
think
in
about
school
it, so
more.
the average home is generally, pretty bad. And then people either go to an office, either they work from home, but you're still in that same bad environment, or they go to an office with also no ventilation and bright lights. And then our kids go to schools, which are even worse than our homes. So it's, to me, it's a really big travesty. You know, you spend one third of your life sleeping. You spend the other 30 either working if you're an adult or in school if you're a kid. And then the other third is kind of other. And
Mhm.
I just think if we can dial in the sleep third and the school
Mhm.
and work third and
Mhm.
make those our sanctuaries,
Mhm.
then the benefits are just astronomical. It's a very
Mhm.
low impact and massive output for focusing on those two things.
Yeah, 100%. And I just have to add this on the mold talk. I had a client once that was having all these health issues. We suspected she got a myco, she got her mold test. She did have mold. We couldn't figure it out. She was in Dr. Pompa, if you
Oh
guys know
yeah,
him. She
detox.
was in his group. I'm like, man, like what is going on? Like couldn't figure it out forever. She's having all these health issues. And then she kind of disappeared. And I was like, hey, where are you? Where are you? And she messaged me. She's like, I'm so sorry. I have like we found out that
Stand
I
again.
had a water leak in my car and my car got totaled because of it. I only found out because electrical issues happened. And when they pulled the roof, the little whatever carpety stuff off of the roof, the entire top of the car was infested with black mold like
Wow.
crazies. And she's like, I drive like an hour each way to work every single day. So I'm just breathing that in, breathing that in. So just wanted to like throw that story in real quick. If anybody's having weird mold stuff and they can't figure it out, just
Can be anywhere.
hold on, guys. I have to laugh because you know what? You moved to the right place, Austin. Mike's like dipping in his cold tub for a cold
Just my
plunge for
feet
a
and legs,
second
man. It's like 100 degrees outside right now. It's
while we
starting to get
talk.
hot.
Okay. I want to switch gears real quick in this little bit of time we have left. Can you
Yeah.
talk about cooking and carpets? What
Cooking and
might you want to?
carpets.
Yeah, cooking and carpets, how it impacts our
Yes.
air quality.
Yeah. Cooking is one of the number one ways that we pollute our homes. Um, when you take high heat and protein, it creates something called polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. When I would remediate a home after a wildfire, this is one of the things we test for. It's super big cancer causing chemical. And that's just from the heat and the proteins together. Um, plus the oils, the pans themselves. And if your windows aren't open, most people's range hoods don't work. So you
Mm,
should use your range hood every time you cook. And you should also test out your range hood. Most range hoods aren't working properly. So
mm,
take a tissue, hold it up to the range hood, make sure it's pulling. Part two, make sure your range hood is venting outside. A lot of them are sneaky and they're not actually venting outside. So you want to take all that
mm,
cooking particulate smoke, even if it's like asparagus or organic beef with good oils, it's still polluting your air. And
mm.
if it's not venting outside, it's going to infiltrate your carpets, your couches, your bedding, everything. So yeah, cooking is a big way that we pollute. Um,
Wait, can I interrupt you really fast? I
Please.
also, because I heard you say this on Sean's show and I want to pass it on to my audience. You were like, so when you take a shower, that thing in your bathroom, the vent, is for removing humidity, not for just removing
Poop
poop
smells.
smell.
Yeah.
And just want to pass that along to my people too, just as a reminder. I think, I know I grew up in Virginia where it's really humid. So like we knew that because we're just desperate to get the humidity out. But, I think in Utah here, it's so dry you get kind of lazy with it. So that was a good reminder for me. Is like, oh yeah, turn that thing on after the
Well, yeah,
shower.
when you shower a couple hours, because that
Okay.
towel is absorbing like a gallon of water. So all of that's
Right.
just dumping into your home.
True.
Um,
Okay.
so and make sure your bathroom fan vents outside. A lot of them are just dumping into your attic, and then you get attic mold. So it should
Okay.
go into your attic and then out or directly outside. So yeah, make sure your vents are actually venting outside. That's a
Okay.
really big thing. Carpets have a range of issues. They're not inherently bad. It's what's bad about carpets is that we don't maintain them properly. So the carpet is the biggest filter in your whole home.
Mm,
The problem is you don't change it and you don't clean it that much.
mm,
So if you were taking your carpet outside monthly and like shaking it out and letting it sit in the sun, if you were HEPA vacuuming it every couple weeks, carpets are actually amazing because it's this huge filter. If your carpet's not capturing it, it's going to be in your air. It's going to be on other surfaces
mm,
anyway. The issue is carpets are a little bit more annoying to clean.
right.
So either don't have carpets and have a good protocol for sweeping. Sweeping and vacuuming is easier than cleaning a carpet, but it's not that the carpet is the problem. It's just a giant filter that nobody takes care of.
Mm,
um
mm,
But a lot
And
of them also do have their own adhesives and chemicals. So cheaper carpets uh, have their own problems as opposed to just being, dust capture has the issue.
yeah, okay. And then how often do you recommend professionally cleaning them?
I think it's a good idea to get your ducts cleaned once a year and get your steam cleaning done once a year. Now, I recently contacted a steam cleaner here. It was like I think $600 or $700 to do all of our upholstery and our bedding and our carpets, but they
Mm.
had like a plan where they come every 3 months and it's like $100 each time. So a lot of
Oh,
the
wow.
companies have like service plans. So if
Cool.
you're using them often, it's like 70% cheaper per time,
Oh,
and then it's
cool.
and then you're like, okay, when my steam cleaning is getting done, that should be a good forcing function for me to like
Mhm.
wash all my
Mhm.
linens and like
Mhm.
do a deep clean at the same time that
Exactly.
we're doing steam cleaning. But duct cleaning once a year and steam cleaning at least once a year is a good idea. Uh, but
Okay.
but if people are optimizing for minimal maintenance, then yeah, obviously less carpets, less absorbent materials is better.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I love stuff like that. That just triggers me to do so. If I can get
Me
something on a
too.
routine like that, they're gonna
Outsourced.
call me and be like, "We're coming." I'm like, "Oh, okay, okay,
Yes.
cool, perfect." I don't have to think about that. Okay, thanks for that little like pro tip. And then what there was one other thing. Oh, the like fancy filters on the actual furnace. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, generally, it's a cute idea, and I wish it. Jasper spent 2 or 3 years before we created the Jasper that we
Mm,
see today. We were creating a furnace type system. We just
mm,
couldn't get it to work, and we bought all of the ones out there to test them.
mm,
Your furnace was designed to heat your home, and your AC was designed to cool your home. So when you try to turn one thing into everything, it tends to not work very good because
mm,
your furnace was sized for a certain amount of airflow. So when you add a big restrictive filter on it, it decreases the airflow. It chokes out your furnace. Also, when
mm,
your furnace fan is not, typically you want to keep it on auto mode where it's on and off, has its heating and cooling. So when it's off, it's not filtering any of your air at all, and it
mm,
actually really makes your home not breathe as good because you just added a big
mm,
choke point by adding more resistance to it. So if someone's building a custom home, you could definitely do a bunch of stuff in your HVAC system and have multiple
mm,
furnaces and ventilation systems, but just like adding a significant filter onto your furnace can do more harm than good. It can void your warranty, and it's just not that effective. You want to have the air cleaning in the place that you need it most. So I want to have an air cleaner in my bedroom and my kids' bedrooms. If I have a home office, I want to optimize for that. If it's in a school, I want to put it in the classroom. I want to clean the air in the place that needs it most and not just like have it sitting in my furnace in the basement because it's just not
right.
super effective. Really elegant idea,
Hmm.
but not as easy as just like upgrade your filter. I have a very low grade furnace filter. I get the cheapest ones, Merv 8, because I want my home breathing as much as possible and
Mm,
getting as much airflow as possible. So I let my Jaspers filter the air. And
mm.
it's like, why doesn't your water heater also filter your air? You let specific things do the right job.
Right.
But it was a good idea. It was a nice attempt.
Yeah. Thanks so much for educating on that. And on the Jasper, and I just have to say, it is really pretty. I'll share it in my stories, but if anybody doesn't catch that, like it is actually so pretty that you kind of want to show it off. Like there's a little bit of like I don't know. It's very sleekly designed. It's like a cylinder. It's tall, but it's
It's made from
nice.
steel, no plastic,
Nice.
no
Excellent.
Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, no EMFs.
Excellent.
Um, can I talk about the school for 1 minute?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to make sure I don't forget about that. It's the most important thing in my life right now.
Mm.
So me and my wife recently, well, Jasper was able to pay for it, so I'm very grateful for Jasper. But we purchased a school, a Montessori school here in Austin.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Cool.
and our mission is to make the school the healthiest school in America.
Mm.
So 2 Jaspers in every class. We're putting in whole building water filtration systems. We're putting in skylights in all the classrooms. All the
Wow.
classes are going to have screened in porches that go to outside, so they can
Wow.
be either outside all the way or in the covered spaces. We're
Amazing.
building like tree houses, so everything will be
Cool.
very indoor outdoor. So it's rooted in Montessori, but it's designed to
Right.
create very free thinking entrepreneurial kids. So it
Amazing.
it has the best of the outdoor stuff,
Yeah.
but we just don't want to pollute kids with bad lighting, bad air, bad water, and
Amazing.
toxic environments. Um, public
Wow.
schools are funded based on the attendance rate. So that's why they don't like people traveling and stuff like that. So what? In Finland, they did a study a year or two ago where they put air purifiers in half the schools and half the classrooms. Not even great air purifiers, but good enough. And they reduced the absentee rates by 30% across teachers and students. And
Wow.
my daughter, Aria, she was getting very sick when she started going to daycare when she was 2.5.
Mm,
And then we found her a new school. We put Jaspers in. She immediately stopped getting sick. Because, like, so much of the way we make each other sick is by breathing all of our
mhm.
stuff, and kids are pretty gross. So, if you have a tightly sealed class with no windows and bad ventilation, one sick kid makes all the kids sick. Then
Right.
they go home and they make their family sick. And then
Mhm,
it spreads. The cost of a sick child is unmeasurable.
mhm.
And when we saw, holy shit, one Jasper is decreasing the sickness rates tremendously. So what we're doing is we're going to create a school that's going to be super optimized for healthy environments. We also
Amazing.
have an organic chef that's getting all locally sourced foods from local
Wow.
farms. So the kids are going to learn about nutrition. They're going to learn how to cook. And then twice a month, we bring in the whole families to teach them how to cook as well. We have a 20-person
Wow.
sauna and cold plunges that are at the school too. So when you drop off your kid or pick them up, you can connect with other parents by taking saunas and cold
Oh,
plunges.
wow.
Once a week, there'll be breathwork facilitation. All of that's free. Every
Wow.
kid also gets a Jasper for free to take to their bedroom at home, because we're going to have the school being a super healthy environment, but that needs to carry to the home as well.
Mm,
And the vision is we're going to prove out that our kids are the healthiest at the school, and they're the healthiest, the happiest, and and they're going to also crush test scores. Even though we're not that into that rigid academics, they're still going to get better at reading and better at writing by learning in such a healthy environment. And instead of paying teachers 30, $40,000, we'll pay our teachers at least $70,000, because I don't think it's fair that our teachers are starving. I think we
mhm,
should have well paid teachers.
mhm,
Um, and then our intention is, I think we're going to be able to drop absentee rates by 50%. And when a kid's sick, mom and dad are off of work now, usually mom.
mhm,
So
mhm,
what is the cost now of that for productivity of the nation, of a world? So if we can get absentee rates down by 50%, and we can get our runny noses down and our coughs down and our boogies and our sneezes, it will actually make it undeniable where the public schools will have to invest in healthy buildings, because it will actually be profitable for them to do so. So the
mhm,
school is called Kindling Academy. We're based in Austin, but we're going to make every single thing that we do is open book. So everything we're putting in to make it healthy and non-toxic, our educational philosophies, all of that's going to be open source. So if you live in Austin, check out kindling.academy. Feel free to join us. And if you're anywhere else in the country, we're going to be sharing everything we do. So hopefully you'll get things that you can share, take to your family at home, take to your school. And if your children or anyone you know, so public schools are very difficult to work with, but if your kids are in a daycare or a private school or anything, Jasper sponsors donating Jaspers to schools for free. So if
mm,
anyone's listening out there who has a kid in a school that doesn't have good air, please connect us with
mm.
the school and we will send them Jaspers and replacement filters free of charge.
Wow.
Um, because we want to put Jaspers in the place that need them most.
Mm,
And when we put them in a school and all of a sudden we got healthy kids, there's just really nothing better that we could be doing.
mm.
Um, and then when it's undeniable, the kids are feeling better. Sometimes the parents buy, then they tell their
Yeah.
friends. So we believe, it's like one of my business philosophies is, it's cheaper to give away your product to people who need it most than run fancy ads or commercials on the
Mhm.
internet. So
Yeah.
it's beautiful that our helping kids budget can also be our marketing budget. So if
Right.
anybody out there feels called, please hit us up, connect us. Also, if anybody has personal issues with mold or air quality stuff, Jasper doesn't have a sales or a support department. We only have clean air concierges. So if anybody has questions about your particular environment or your air situation, feel free to hit us up and talk to us. We're here to help, Jasper or no Jasper.
Awesome. Wow. Well, I love to come to Austin as regularly because it's one of my happy
Come, man. We
places.
can work
So
out on the dock.
when I'm there, like I will have to, if you'd like, I'd love to do like a tour of the school and put some
Look at
eyes
that
on it.
duck.
There's Keith. Look at this. If you guys are on video, it's Austin AF right here. This is Austin. This is why I love Austin. There's a
Come on down.
lot of health conscious, entrepreneurial, spiritual, yeah, cool people out there.
The
Austin
school opens
gives
next
you that.
August, so
Next August.
come visit the school.
All
We can have a
right.
little doc talk.
Yeah, yeah. I'd love to put some eyes on the school. And, that's incredible what you're doing. And for you guys, before we end, if you're listening to this podcast when it came out,
So
September
today is
12th.
September 12th.
Yeah.
That is
Then
today.
yes, today, as in you're listening, September 12th, you can get $300 off. Thank you guys with code COACHTARA. If you're listening to this after, you can still get $200 off. But if you
So the
got 18
$300
days.
discount is going to stay, yeah, like for the whole month. And
Hmm.
we call it the life-changing guarantee. So if the Jasper is not undeniably making your life better, message us back. We'll give you back all your money. If it's not changing your life, let's get that Jasper into let's give it to a school. Let's get that into someone's home who it's making a difference for. So you have a 0% chance of having a bad experience, because if it's not a no-brainer, we'll take it back. Just keep the box for the first 30 days, please. Well, if you don't, we'll still send you a new one, but it helps us if you keep it. But probably after the first week, it'll be undeniable for you. If you're getting one, I would recommend putting it in your bedroom and using fan speed 2 or 3 and putting it on dark mode. It's in
Okay,
your bedroom where the life-changing results happen.
cool.
If you're getting more than one or you cook a lot, you can put one in your living room on smart mode. That's where it's going to automatically adapt to the air
Okay,
quality and the cooking in real time. But in the bedroom is where the life-changing stuff happens. So yeah,
cool.
Coach Tara, um, between September 12th today and September 30th, it's $300 off. Basically, that's like our Black Friday deal. But last year at Black Friday, we were back ordered by 3 months. So
Okay.
this year, we're like, hey, when we ever go on a podcast and educate people, let's just let them know about the deal. We're located in Austin. So if anybody buys who's in Austin, we'll text you or call you after your order, and we'll personally come deliver it to your house, and we'll test the air in your home for
Mm.
free, and we'll take away all the
Oh,
packaging. Unfortunately, we only offer that in Austin right now,
yeah.
but eventually we'll offer that in more cities. And you have a lifetime warranty with Jasper as well. So if it breaks, even if it's 3 years later, 5 years later, we send you a brand new Jasper in the box. You take the new
Amazing.
Jasper out of the box, you put the old Jasper in the box. We give you a prepaid shipping label, so we cover the shipping both ways. We don't pre-authorize your credit card or any of that stuff. And we send UPS to come to your house and pick it up off your front
Amazing.
porch. Because I hate when I have a warranty and a company makes me jump through hoops and take
Right.
pictures and take videos and go to FedEx and buy a
Right.
box. It's not
Right.
cool. So we won't do any of that stuff to you.
Amazing. Amazing. So it's Jasper without an E, guys. JASPR.co, correct?
Yep.
That's
No
it.
M. No M in Com, no E in Jasper. JASPR.code. Coach Tara, between today, September 12th, and September 30th, it's $300 off. If it's too much money, make yourself a DIY air purifier, because I think as long as you get something that works, that is the most important thing. Crack your windows, use your range hood, use your bathroom fans, and go for walks after dinner.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Inside Out Health Podcast. I hope it's been helpful to you in your journey. If you think that it might be helpful to someone you know, please share it with them. Please share on social media. It really helps me grow the show and reach more people with these amazing messages. And if you could be so kind as to rate the show and possibly even leave me a review, that really helps. So much thanks in advance if you do that. And yeah, please subscribe if you want to hear more of this type of content. I have lots of amazing expert guests on the way. All right. Thank you.